What to do if you are constantly feeling triggered by your specific person in the 3D. Hello, beautiful soul. Welcome back to my channel. This is Priya, your manifestation coach. And in this video, we are going to take a closer look at what to do if you are constantly feeling triggered by your specific person in the 3D and you just can't seem to break free from this negative cycle. But first, if you would like to get coached by me, I offer an online course, Manifest Your SP Mastery. This is where I show you step by step exactly how to manifest a version of your specific person that you desire. I also offer monthly membership coaching. This is where you can get live coaching with me on a weekly basis to really stay on top of your manifestation game. And finally, I also offer one-on-one coaching to help you manifest anything that your heart desires. You can get access to any of these offerings by simply clicking the link below in the description box. Okay, let's get back to this video. What to do if you are constantly feeling triggered by your specific person in the 3D. Now, before we get started, if you are somebody who is experiencing any type of abuse by your specific person, this video is not for you. Please remove yourself from the situation and prioritize your safety. Okay, the reason why I made this video today is because in the comments section, one of you guys was sharing how you are with your specific person, but your specific person is really bad at communicating with you. And they are really inconsistent when it comes to messaging you. And this is really triggering you. So if you're somebody right now who is constantly feeling triggered by a certain behavior or pattern that your specific person is doing, then this video is really going to help you to break free from that trigger cycle. Now, where I want to begin with this is by first shining some light on the fact that if you are triggered, this does not mean that you have done something wrong, that you're not going to get your manifestation. A lot of the times people will think if they're triggered, it means that they're doing something wrong. That is not true. You do not want to give your triggers that meaning. Instead, you want to give the meaning to your triggers that when you are feeling triggered, this is all part of the perfect unfolding. This is part of the bridge of events. That when you're feeling triggered, it's because these triggers are coming to the surface to be released, transformed, and healed, which is all part of your perfect unfolding, leading you to your manifestation. This is the first thing that you want to be clear about from a mindset point of view. Now, the next thing that you want to be conscious of is that it actually doesn't matter when you're feeling triggered. The key here is all about how do you respond to your triggers. This is the difference between people who manifest what they want and people who don't manifest what they want. It's all about how do you respond to your triggers when you're feeling triggered, because we are human, we are going to feel triggered. So you absolutely want to master how to respond to your triggers when you are feeling triggered. Now, I'm going to talk you through two scenarios that highlight what you do and what you don't want to do when you're feeling triggered. So again, taking the example that this person in the comments section wrote, let's say that your specific person is really bad with communicating with you. They don't consistently message you every day, and you desire a version of them that consistently communicates with you every day. So let's look at scenario one. Let's say that in scenario one, you are affirming for your end. You're affirming in your mind, oh, my specific person is constantly blowing up my phone. They are consistently messaging me every single day. But in the 3D, you're seeing the opposite. In the 3D, they are being very inconsistent and you're triggered, you're pissed off, you're feeling upset, you're feeling hurt, you're feeling disrespected. Now, when you feel these things, the way that you react to that is you pick up the phone and you call all your friends and you start complaining, whining, and bitching about your specific person, about how they're treating you like shit, about how they're never messaging you, how they're really inconsistent. And then once you finish that, you begin to whine, bitch, and complain in your own mind with your specific person. You absolutely don't want to do this when you're feeling triggered. So when you're feeling triggered, you don't want to feed the trigger by feeding the negative story, by complaining, bitching, and whining to everyone about it, or even bitching, whining, and complaining to yourself about it in your mind. When you do this, you are feeding the trigger and you are feeding your subconscious mind with the story that, oh, my specific person is really bad at communication. My specific person doesn't communicate with me. My specific person is so inconsistent with communicating me. That's what you're feeding your subconscious mind with. And your subconscious mind is just saying yes to everything. And it's going to show you more proof of this. So my message is, when you're feeling triggered, you don't want to feed the trigger by complaining about it, by keeping your awareness and your focus on it and rehashing the old story. Something else worth mentioning is that this does not have to be perfect. We are human and sometimes we will react, whine, complain, and bitch. The idea is that you don't want to make this your dominant state. We absolutely want to minimize this. If you do find yourself reacting and complaining, forgive yourself, do not judge yourself, and moving forward, make a different choice. Now let's take a look at scenario 2. This is what you do want to do when you're feeling triggered. So again, let's say that you're affirming, my specific person is really good at communicating with me. My specific person is constantly blowing up my phone. My specific person consistently messages me every single day. So you're doing the inner work. Now in the 3D, your specific person is showing you the opposite. They are not consistent with messaging you and you're feeling triggered. You're feeling pissed off. You're feeling angry. Step 1 is to first validate the fact that you're feeling triggered. It's okay that you're feeling triggered. It's okay that you're feeling pissed off. You don't want to judge yourself. Instead, you want to actually validate yourself and remind yourself, hey, it's okay that I'm feeling this way. It's valid. Step 2 is you want to accept the emotion, accept what you're feeling, the anger, the hurt, the annoyance that you're feeling, and feel all of it without the story. So you reject the negative story that says SP is an asshole, SP is really bad at communicating with me. You do not feed that story. You don't entertain that story. Instead, you focus on what you are feeling and you allow yourself to feel what you are feeling. Once you allow yourself to feel the anger or the annoyance, what you will find is you will feel lighter. Now, once you feel lighter, the key is to then return back to the end, back to your desired reality. So this is when you whip out your affirmations and you begin to think from your desired reality again. Oh, SP is constantly blowing up my phone. I love that SP is really good at communicating with me. I love that SP is so consistent with their communication with me. You go back to the end after you have transformed the trigger. Now, the idea is you want to practice this over and over and over and over again. So every time you are triggered, this is how you want to respond to your trigger. Every time you respond to your trigger this way, you are going to feel less and less triggered moving forward. Something else that I want to point out here is that you want to understand that initially you are going to feel triggered because your old assumption is what is dominant. Your old assumption that says SP is really bad at communicating. Maybe you're somebody who doesn't have a strong self-concept as well, that thinks you're not worthy or good enough. And so these are your dominant assumptions. So initially you are going to feel triggered, but as you focus on shifting your internal stories to align with your end, you will feel less and less triggered in the 3D. But initially when you are feeling triggered, you absolutely want to respond to your trigger by transforming your trigger instead of feeding your trigger with the negative stories. People who get results are people who understand how to respond to their triggers. They understand that their triggers does not mean that they're doing it wrong or that they're not going to get their manifestation when they are feeling triggered. They honor their triggers, they transform the trigger, and then they return back to the end. In their mind, they begin to think from their desired reality once they have transformed that triggered and they allowed themselves to feel the emotion. So to recap, If you're somebody who is constantly feeling triggered by your specific person, you want to ensure that you are responding to your triggers the right way, that you're focused on transforming your triggers instead of feeding your trigger by continuing with the negative story, by complaining to all your friends or to yourself about your specific person. This only feeds your trigger, which will keep you stuck in the reality that you don't want. When you choose instead to respond to your trigger by transforming the trigger, and once you transform the trigger, you go back to the end in your mind, this is when you are moving closer to your manifestation. You are also aware that the more you focus on your desired reality, the more you focus on ensuring that you have a really solid self-concept where you know your worth and your value, and you know that you're the operant power of your reality, and where you focus on your affirmations that imply your ends, such as SP is blowing up my phone every day, SP loves to communicate with me every day. The more you focus on this in your consciousness and you really saturate your mind with this, you will feel less and less triggered in the 3D. So initially, when you begin to change your story about your specific person, you are going to feel triggered when you are not seeing the results in the 3D, or when your 3D is still showing you the opposite. And that is because your old assumption is still what is dominant. But your job is to understand this, and your job is to then say, okay, let me transform my trigger instead of complaining about my trigger. That's it for this video. Thank you so much for being here. I love you. I appreciate you. Have a wonderful day or a wonderful evening. Mwah.